Everything about me is going to come out in the public record. And I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again. I've done some dumb things as a senator, I've done some dumb things as a lawyer. But what I haven't done, and I suggest to you, is a matter of my character. Go ask anyone with whom I ever practiced law, opponent or friend. Ask any of my colleagues, anyone, opponent or friend. Ask anyone whenever whom I've had a relationship with. And if they tell you Joe Biden is not as straight as an arrow, I'll be very surprised. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb. I did something very stupid 23 years ago. That's it. Fire away.
Biden,
yes.
Questions have arisen about what you've done more recently than 23 years ago. You say that were all those references to Hubert Humphrey's speeches, to Robert Kennedy's speeches, to John Kennedy's speeches, were all those inadvertent references put in by speechwriters or by Joe Biden?
I don't know what all you're talking about. The one I know about, for example, I have, and everyone else, there are certain generic quotes people have used matter of fact, I got a call from a guy who's a friend of mine. I think none of you believe it, but Jesse Jackson. And Jesse called me to tell me, he said, look, Joe, I used the Hubert Humphrey quote about the dawn of life, the whatever, and he said I didn't attribute it and I didn't know it. The fact of the matter is, every time that I have been aware that it has been someone else's quote, I have used it. As a matter of fact, the criticism of me by the press, with good reason, has been in part in this campaign that I quote too many people, that I quote Kennedy all the time, I quote King all the time, I quote Humphrey all the time. So what I'm saying to you is that if and when I've ever quoted anyone without saying this is their quote, it's either because, as I say in some speeches, listen, can you hear the voices? Let the word go forth. I don't quote anybody, everybody knows that. When I haven't attributed it, it's either because, in fact, it's been clearly known by everyone what it is, or I honestly did not know I was quoting somebody else. And I want to say one other thing. It's ironic to me, and I guess it's all comes with the territory. But I don't know anybody else other than Reverend Jackson who's had as much original material as I have had in my speeches. And the irony is I'm standing here talking about whether or not my use of someone else's quotes are the essence of who I am and what I say and what I stand for. As honest as I can answer your question.
Senator, what effect do you think this might have on your presidential campaign?
I don't think it will have any effect, but I don't know. You all will make the judgment about that. It'll all depend on how you write it. I don't mean that. I'm not being smart. It'll all depend on the American people looking at me. They're going to look at me and say, is Joe Biden being honest with me? Or is Joe Biden not being honest with me? I'm being honest. And if they conclude that my mistakes and my attitude, in addition about these other two matters, the quotes and the rest, is not right, then, well, they have a right to say not me. But
Senator, we did find out that the Kinnock material.
yes.
Before the Iowa debate, did you sit with that videotape and learn his gestures and memorize the words? And could you explain why at the beginning of that close you said that you had been thinking about what you wanted to say?
I sure can. Thank you for asking me. The answer is yes. I looked at that tape. I was moved by that tape. We sat down, I turned it on, and I said, my Lord, look at this guy. Look at what he is expressing here. And I looked at it once, and I didn't have to look at it again. And what I would do out on the stump, I'd say, I saw a tape from Neil Kinnock where he stands there and he's angry. And he looks out at his people and he says, why am I the first Kinnock ever to go to a university? I could tell how that man felt. And it's how I feel. It's how I feel about what my party's about and what I'm about. Why in the Lord's name am I standing up here as a presidential candidate at 44 years old? Because I'm so much better than the rest of... I honestly think it connected with me. My father's smarter than I am. So is my mother. Why me? Because they gave me a shot. And that's the notion I was trying to communicate to people. And I used Kinnock to communicate it. Now, what I did in the speech, I landed. at the airport. And so I got there, and what I should have said instead of saying what I was thinking about it on the way over. What I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it. Those same people heard me give this quote. I mean, that audience was made up of people who've heard all of us. They were all everybody's people. At any rate, that's it. Mix and move, and I was talking about how I clearly, if I didn't say it, I clearly implied I got it from Healy.
Though, based on those two things, is do you feel you're able to control, to put in the vernacular, your mouth, that you can think before you talk?
Well, I've been in this business for 15 years. I let my record of 15 years versus the transgression that you're referring to stand, and you all can make that judgment. I feel very capable of using my mouth in sync with my mind.
Senator, in relation to the law school incident, the memo from the dean stated December 1st of your freshman year. When was the paper?
Oh, yeah, I'll give you paper was actually written and handed in October the 18th.
And when did school start, sir?
I don't remember. September. I mean, it was like 6 weeks into school. I honestly, but you have, I'll give you every one of them, including the paper. I mean, a paper that's marked up, the whole works. I didn't know they had the paper. I'm serious, I'm not being smart. I didn't know that, I didn't think they, anyway.
Senator, you say that this issue has been raised by your opponents.
Well,
do you think that the other
I was
campaigns
told.
are out to get you for some reason, or is this
I don't have any opinion. The reason I mention that is I was told by it was in print in the Wilmington newspaper.